Hi guys, it's Vaca here, and I just want to kind of talk about the build and the progression so far. I won't be editing this video, I'll just be yapping with the things we learned and how progression went. So, first thing, when I tried switching to full bloom using this trait, I realized that we don't need Wind Rider, which makes us take more damage. We don't need this. To upkeep full bloom and full nourishment stacks, we can use this trait, which is much better. It gives us more damage and it doesn't make us take more damage, so it's pretty good. To use this, you just need to grab CDR from the leech tree, so you get these nodes and this node, and then you always have full bloom and nourishment stacks. Like, you have 1 second without full bloom every 15 seconds or so it's fine. This is how the build is looking right now. I'm testing these modules. They are the huge automatons. They make the enemies take more damage. So we're at about 40 bill, 50 bill damage. Okay. And this is what we're using. This increases our damage by 16%. We're using Grudge and Blind. And the reason we want Blind is because of this prism. Okay, Dazzling Bloom prism. So enemies that are blinded take 12% additional damage. This is pretty cool. We are using a Magus in an active slot, so we get 3 auras in our mana and then 1 on life. To do this, you need the Fiend's Crown as well as these nodes on the leech tree. I saw some people asking me about why do I go for so much minion cast speed everywhere, like here, and I believe I get it on leech and on alchemist and on machines. And it's not about the ultimate, because it has a cooldown, so the cast speed doesn't matter. But full bloom scales additional damage with cast speed. 50% of cast speed bonus and additional bonus is applied to Spirit Magus spell damage. So that's why I get a lot of attack speed. My ring, I just bought a price list right now. It's not really good. I haven't crafted on it that much. Same about weapon, but it's still pretty good. I made this Vorax belt. It cost me about 400 FE or 500 FE. It has double horn ring, it's a lot of damage. I got MVS, miniature void sea, and I put out a bunch of codes with the full progression, leveling, and then T4, how my gear was looking like. And then on T5, when I switched the hero trait, I believe. Oh, that's when I got Wind Rider. So yeah, I was still using Wind Rider. Make sure you change that. You can use this one. Yeah. And then Traveler, we had 300 million DPS, spending like 5 FE buying the slates. This was more damage than I expected, to be honest. I didn't think we'd have 300 mil. I thought we'd be at like 150, maybe 200 million DPS. So this was nice. And okay, I have Anubis 6 and all that, but with Anubis 1 and Drapion 1, you're probably doing like 200 mil. So it's still pretty good for a Traveler fight. And I started farming T8. And it did a lot of damage, but it was still kind of clunky to play because of the cooldown on the ultimate skill. So I farmed and bought a Malignant and Frequent Quake. They're pretty cheap now. Like, with a bad roll, it's 10 FE. See? So you can use this. It will reduce your DPS on the dummy, but it actually helps your DPS in general on maps. and it feels a lot smoother playing with them. So as soon as you get Malignancy and Frequent Quake, your mapping experience becomes so much better. So much better. Also, I should mention, when you get Miniature Void Sea, that's when you want to equip another minion, like it can be this one, it could be Grim Phantoms if you don't want to buy a module, and that's because of how MVS works, right? You need more minions. Before that, you don't need to use another minion, you just go for Rising Edge, like the build code shows. I'm using Root, so every time I stop moving, it will spawn these minions. And when you are walking around right here, and you blink, every time you blink, the game thinks you stopped moving for a second, and it summons the minions, so you don't have to click anything, you just walk around and blink. I'm just gonna showcase a quick map now, just to, you know, show how the build is going. Let's see if I have compasses. Yeah. So I farmed Dring a lot, like day 1 of the league, and now I'm doing Clock, but you need more damage to do Clock, so let's do a quick map. I believe this is T81 or T82, I don't remember. I didn't check it. Well, yeah. I just want to show like how the mapping experience feels like with the build at this point. Oh, also, I've not been mapping with this. It helps with the ultimate uptime because of the CDR and some damage. But I've been using Preserver, I do less damage, but it gives me a ton of movement speed, some resistances. And you can see that mapping experience is pretty fine. Like, you still kill a lot of stuff really fast. See? And you should keep in mind I'm using compasses, so mobs are tankier. And it's still pretty doable. Yep. You can see that the Magus skill just demolishes everything. So we just hope Dotto procs here. Alice procced. This is pay to win strategy, I know. And there it is. So yeah, mapping is fine. But I have to admit, it does feel clunky if you don't have Malignant and Frequent Quake. It is kinda bad. Like, it's not terrible, but you definitely do feel the downtime on the ultimate skill. Like sometimes you'll be walking around and there will be mobs on your screen and they just don't die because your Magus are stuck casting their base skill instead of the ultimate because it's on cooldown. So yeah. Also, you might have noticed I'm not using this node anymore for ulti CDR. I'm using ultimate damage. This of course helps with damage, it does more DPS, but the mapping experience might be better with cooldown if your damage is high enough, okay? On the dummy, this always loses the CDR, but on the mapping experience, maybe you should run CDR. I'm not doing so, because I think mapping is smooth as it is, but yeah, that's an option. If it feels clunky, there's too much downtime on the ultimate, especially with like bad road on the Frequent Quake. If maybe you don't have enough money yet and you're using one of the cheapest ones, the duration on the Empower skill will be so bad, so you have less Malignant procs for the ultimate skill proc, and it feels more clunky. So if you get a T0, maybe too expensive, but a T1, no, 30 FE, that's pretty fine, and it helps a lot. I want to get to 300 growth now, so I can have even more uptime on this empower skill, which means more ultimate cast, so it gets even smoother. You see at stage 3, so 300 growth, it gets 50% additional empower duration, and that's what we want. So we still don't have any growth. I've got a pedigree with Mighty Guard, so that's 40 growth that I'll be getting, and I still need like 160, and I could get 60 from Veil, right? So we get to 200, we still need 100, and that's where you get from you can get from the rings with ultimate affix, maybe replace ally resistance and get it somewhere else, so you can get some growth here. We could do on the Dream affix as well, we could get growth through Dream affixes. I mean, there's a lot of options, but yeah, that's the main goal, I think. If you want a better mapping experience, you won't gain as much damage, I don't think. Like, it will be somewhat of a DPS boost, but not huge. But yeah, I'll probably be crafting this ring because it's kind of trash right now. A lot of tier 3, tier 2 affixes, and my weapon as well. I want to fix this, and then maybe I'll go for more growth. I don't know, I just want to reach profound, so I'm not sure about the order. I'm gonna see how prices are gonna be. I also want to buy a green shoot. It adds growth, it adds CDR, pretty good. Screw can be pretty good as well for crit chance. You can see that my crit chance is almost 100%, but it's not there yet, so it would be nice to cap it. Screw helps a lot with this because it adds flat critical strike rating. Mechanical tree is obviously pretty good for the late game because I want to be using synthetic troops. And this Nourishing Spring Ring, oh, it's kind of cheap now. Okay, interesting, because this one will be used if you want to play with modules, right? As they are synthetic troops, so they will be your main damage if you play with this, and the Magus will be just supportive, kinda supplementary. And I want to do this in the endgame. When you use this material to craft on a memory to try and get this, it is a 20% chance of hitting, so 1 in 5. So yeah, you might need 1000 FE just to try it, and you also need a hero memory that is ultimate. I don't know, maybe intelligence based, and that is not super cheap. Like, if you want decent affixes, for example, I would want critical from minions, T1. Yeah, so imagine having to buy like 5 of these because you can try and craft this memory and you use this material and it fails, so you try it again. Yeah, it gets pretty expensive. I won't be doing it for now, but keep in mind later on I will be using this build with synthetic troops and the hero trait, and then we'll also not be using malignant probably. I'll have to test, but I'll probably use melody instead and enhance skill, but that's much later. Like, still a lot of upgrades to go before we reach this. So yeah, I just wanted to talk about how the build is going, how it went as well, day 1, and all that good stuff. My latest code was at 30 build, and it didn't have these modules yet, the automatons. I think I was using Green Phantoms, yeah. So the automatons are a nice buff. Yeah, I think that's it, guys. Thank you for watching. I hope you're having fun on Lunaria. If you have any questions, feel free to comment, and I'll try to help you as best as I can. See ya!